and ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As far as attendance goes, everybody's here with the exception of Mrs. Himmelsbach, who has been excused for this evening. Seeing that, I hope everyone has a digital copy of the agenda. If not, maybe if you could read off your neighbors, that would be appreciated. And if you have any additions or deletions to the agenda as presented, please let me know now.
We put on Iron Bell Trail on the agenda.
Not on the draft. I could either talk about it in the chairman's report, or we can add that in for you to talk about tonight. If you have additional information that you'd like to say, then we'll add it in there.
Okay, I'll be thinking.
Okay, we'll put it in there. Okay, moving on, the meeting minutes. Did everyone get a copy of Alan's meeting minutes? Is there any questions, comments, or concerns?
No, I've placed a hard copy in front of everybody.
Yeah.
I'll just make...
the date is wrong for Tour de Isle is September 20th, not the 17th.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Looking under open public comment, you have WB acting as a citizen. I think it was WP. That was Wally.
It's just for us anyway, right?
But these are all administrative things.
Oh, that was a fundraiser.
I'll make the motion amended, except with amendments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Okay, at this time we have open public comment. Seeing nobody in the audience, is there any commissioners that want to act as citizens this evening, like Wally did last time?
Yeah.
Always game to do that.
All right, let's go.
We're going to talk a little bit more about Barradoor. It's a weekend event, not just Barradoor. The residents of this island are really going to get a treat. Not only is the Bike Path Commission going to provide you some entertainment, so is the Greenways and Open Space Committee, so is the DPS. I will reserve details on that till later in the event, so everybody has to stay on, watch me on television till we're done. But I'm looking forward to this event, complimenting the weekend's garage sale. And Grosio, we're going to have a little party this weekend. Great weather has been ordered. 200 bicyclists are expected.
Great, sir. Any other public comments?
Yeah. Don and I were talking yesterday, and we somehow, a citizen. Okay. Don and I were talking yesterday about other stuff, and we were talking about the bike path. A citizen came over and thought, oh, by the way, you're talking about the bike path? Let Donna take over the rest. What did he talk about?
He talked about, sorry about that. His chief concern was that there's too many signs on the bike path. And he said that, as he was growing up, there were no signs telling you how to ride a bike or what to do or when to stop. His idea kind of was if you're coming to an intersection, you should stop. So he just that was his take on it, was that too many signs on the bike path, and it's kind of annoying. He thinks it takes away from the scenery.
Mm-hmm. Great. One last public comment. We got an email from the gibikeped@gmail.com email address, public comment asking if folks want to help volunteer for the Barradoor. Is there any way for them to do that? So, Wally, is there anything that you'd suggest for this person?
Baradur is a Wayne State event, and you can go to baradur.com and volunteer. You might get a T-shirt and a couple of craft beers for your efforts. But there's nothing on the island that we need, but they do need safety people, so feel free to go and volunteer on baradur.wayne.edu.
Thank you, sir. Hearing nothing else, we'll close public comment. Move into old business. The first event, I know it's a shocker. We haven't talked about this in a long time, the Baradur and the Walk the Path event.
Jeez. Can I say a couple words about that? I'm really, really geeked for this event. I love the word geeked because that's just primal. It's just one of the nicest things we've ever done. Weekend Baradur event will of course be bicycle racers. This is not a formal race. This is a race against yourself. People that are going to be in the 100-mile event are going to be starting at 7 o'clock in the morning. Get to us somewhere between 11 and 2. That's perfect time. The event will be prepared for them. They are bringing some of their own refreshments and snacks for the bicyclists, and they're separate from our other event. And bicyclists don't normally stop for a hot dog. They're looking for a peanut butter sandwich or something that's but we're going to have a couple porta potties and a table set up by Wayne State and some volunteers from Wayne State, probably near the water fountain that day, just so that they can stop, get a drink of water, have a sandwich, use the facilities, and take off. One of those people coming through is Wayne State's own president. He's an avid bicyclist. His wife is an avid bicyclist, and she's going to do 50. Tom Malvesto is going to do the Century Ride. He's going to do 62 miles. Our Tom Malvesto. So there's a lot of participation in this. At the Commons, besides the main event of me cooking hot dogs, rare to well done, horizontal or
You can have a rare hot dog.
you can have a rare hot dog. Any hot dog I make that's good is rare. But no, that
Then it's just bologna.
you can get them cross-hatched if you really ask. But again, you can see I'm looking forward to having a lot of fun with this. Barry Van Engelen is going to be there, our guitar guy, just like he was last year. We're going to have lemonade and hot dogs just like we did. BPS is going to have a table. I'm told that the commission is going to be passing out information about how they propose to make our roads first class once again. Greenways Open Space is a sleeper in this. They have a table, but they also managed to come up with a 23-foot long by 13-foot forestry trailer. That's going to be spotted in the parking lot just directly south of the Macomb Commons. This is going to give you an idea of the treasure that we have in greenways and open spaces here, and how we can learn a little bit, teach people a little bit about how to take care of them. So these are going to be all happening during a garage sale of 2 days. It's going to be busy here, and I look forward to having that busyness. Let's go out and have a good time, Rosie. Let's show these folks what we're made. Thank you.
Thanks, Wally. Anyone else have any comments on the Walk the Path portion of the discussion topic?
About Baradur, in case you're curious.
Very cool. We'll try to provide a link of that on Facebook. Okay, moving on. Lazy Ride debrief. Jane, what do you got for us?
Okay, It was a beautiful day. We started about 19 participants down to 2 at the end. Barry again, Bob again helped me with the bike ride. We had people who came from Royal Oak, found us through Google on the computer, New Boston, and Glosia. But it was a nice group. We had 2 separate families, and we had Flora Case, who also presented the DIA picture. She did a great job. And then it's going to be on Glosia TV. As soon as my daughter edits the video, it'll be on Glosia TV.
Great.
That's really well.
And I understand that we're adding a 4th lazy ride this year? September?
September, October, November.
Oh, wow.
I added 3 more months. Oh,
Jane, do you have the date
yes, I do.
for those?
September 19, October 17, November 21st. And I'm taking a break in the winter.
November 21st. Getting close to Thanksgiving there.
1st or 23rd. Yeah. so-
Why not? But I think it was fall colors. Why not?
That's right. I understand the September event is going to be at night. Looking
Yeah,
to,
it'll be on, that's a separate subject. It'll be on September 2nd, and I can talk about that later.
okay.
If it's already on that agenda. You want me to talk about it? Okay. September 2nd, tour the aisle. Chairperson asked me, do some kind of warm-up activity, get excited about tour the aisle. So he wanted me to conduct a bike ride at night, where we're going to meet at Lloyd Bar and Grill on Macomb. Be there at 8 o'clock with lights on the bikes. On the wheels, on your head, on your body, I don't care. We meet at 8 o'clock. We're going to bike 3 to 5 miles, really to show to the public that I'm going to plan a route where a lot of drivers are, so they can see us. Finish about 8:30 or so, and we're going to go down in Lloyd Bar and Grill with a half-off appetizer, and we're going to get together and talk about what we're going to do on September 20th. So I'm looking forward to it. And the flyers are already distributed on and off island.
Great. Thanks for the update. Again, on old business, I accidentally passed up the Bridge and Path update. So I know that there's been a lot of work going on. I've been able to see it in action, and from what I've heard from Wally, that some of the work is finishing up here. So, Wally?
I can bring you up to speed on that. We have gotten the bridge near Meridian School finished and stained. And as I said earlier, I think it looks like $1 million. There's been a lot of wood put into the other 2 bridges, including spindles and reinforcements and such. And those ought to be stained here rather soon. We're kind of holding off on them. It takes a few days for them to dry, and I don't want anybody on them during the weekend coming up. So we're probably not going to stain until, as I understand it, next week. On the 24th, our asphalt repairs will begin. And so you will see a lot of closed-off sections of bike path as we make repairs according to that estimate that we received some months ago. Not much more to tell you about it. What's happened is good. What's about to happen is good, and that by Thanksgiving, we should have a very, very good-looking system again.
Thanks, Wally. Question I have is, from past experience, I know that when we're doing a great job updating the paths and the bridges. I was wondering if there's things that are going to be, larger closures or for longer periods of time. Do you think we might want to consider how we're addressing bicycle traffic? Because I know I'm starting to see people, for example, the bridge near Ferry, when you're crossing the Thoroughfare Canal, people are riding out in the road, and I didn't know if maybe we could be a little proactive as far as putting up a sign that says share the road, or be expecting bicyclists on the road, or providing some sort of detour for folks. And again, if it's just a very short duration thing, I think it's kind of overkill. But if we're talking about weeks at a time, maybe it's at least a good idea to think about it.
Dale Riem has put out a notice about the closure of the bridge, and I'm pulling it up on my computer right now to read it exactly. Those of you who are observing on television, I'm slow and my computer's slower. Hang with me, it's coming.
While we're waiting, Wally, you're right. Meridian Bridge does look great. They did a phenomenal job with it.
I agree. I love the color, the stain coloring. It's great.
You like that color?
I sure do.
Told him he could have any color he wants except black, which is what the other ones look like. And I wasn't appreciative of the way they looked for several years. I have a picture in my office of the bike path, that bridge, when it was brand new, and it was light, and it's really a sin, whatever was done to that bridge to turn it that color. But the compromise now is a solid stain in brown, and it's a redwood-colored brown. I think it looks tough as nails,
Looks
frankly.
very nice with the surroundings.
We're still waiting.
It'd be nice to have some before and after pictures that we can put up on GITV or on the website and show folks that might not even be riding the trails as, what their tax dollars are doing.
Cotton picker. I'll read it to you when it comes up.
Okay.
For whatever reason, it just doesn't want to go back to my website.
Okay, while we're waiting, I have a question. Know the line on the path, would that be covered? Know that?
No,
No? It won't be covered?
no.
Okay.
There's no intention to try to cover those. They are designed so that in the summertime, the path expands and they come up to at or just above the level of the path. In the wintertime, when the asphalt gets cold and contracts, that line sinks to just below the level of the path, so that when we clear the bike path for our residents, the snowplows don't catch all of that sealant and crack sealant and pull it out of the holes. So although, it was never intended to be a pool table, it's a path. And it is what it is. It's much better than riding on gravel.
Like in the future, if we grind down the top layer so that way pretty much everything is level to begin with, then add another level of asphalt on top, that we can mitigate those.
When you do go in and you do remove and replace, those lines disappear. But after a course of a couple of years, the paths do crack from expansion and contraction, and the crack sealing helps to keep the path from falling apart completely.
We'll move on, and Wally, anytime that you do have that come up, let us know, and we'll bring it back into the
All right,
thing. But let's move on
here
to
somewhere.
Tour de Eel. Jane, I had a space for you for the Tour de Eel, if there's anything else that you'd like to add about that.
Well, I talked about the warm-up bike ride. We're having a meeting tomorrow night at 7 if you're interested, Bob. As of last Saturday, it's 140 participants so far. There's raffle tickets for sale if anybody's interested. Talk to me, I got them. $5 a ticket or 5 tickets for $20. What you get for a raffle is a $1,000 value bike of your choice. Things are coming together. We're going to have a poker run. We're going to have a passport every time you stop. And you can look online, go tourdeal.com, and there's a map of the route, and there's 4 or 5 different route lengths. It's a lot of work, but I'll catch up next. I'll follow up how it went next month.
Okay, thanks. Wally, back to you.
Yeah, Bob?
Jane, I got to ask you real quick on a Tour de Eel. Are they still looking for a lot of volunteers for this event?
Yeah, to take over some of the jobs. Yeah.
Okay, we'll let this out in the public here that we can use volunteers for Tour de Eel. Anybody out there willing to help?
Just a sign-up form online.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Wally, I heard that you...
I found the posting. It's from Dale to Ted Fournier, me, and Wes Pfeiffer, the person doing the bike path repairs to the bridges. Please post. The Thoroughfare Bike Path Bridge will be closed for maintenance the week of August 24th, 2015, weather permitting, to protect resident safety. please do not bypass barricades. Thank you for your cooperation. So it'll be on our websites.
Yeah, but I guess
It'll be on TV 12 also.
again, I mean, to me, that's just. I mean, I think it's great that we do that, but it'd be good to take a step farther and tell folks where they should be riding, or I mean, because there's going to be people that don't see that. There's going to be people that maybe even they see that and they forget about it, and they're going to continue to ride up to the bridge. Then what do they do at that point? Are we suggesting that that's it? They just turn around, that they're not allowed to go in the street, or should we?
You can go on the street if you want to. It's free country.
Yeah.
You know, we're not going to do anything special other than advising people that the bridge is closed. You know, sometimes the bridge closes for maintenance. I'm not overly fond of, you know, somebody complained about too many signs, and now we're talking about putting up more signs. I don't buy it. There's going to be barricades on the road. There are. West Pfeiffer's got horses across it, and you know, we're doing what we can to make sure that people understand they're not supposed to be on the bridge. But
again,
that's like saying at the end of the road, water, do not go in. You know, let's just not overkill this. My opinion.
Okay. And in my opinion, I think that people are going to be riding in the road. So again, I understand that there's a need for, reducing sign clutter, but there is a purpose for signs at some times. So just to say, no, let's not do any signs because our residents don't want them, I think is not the best course of action for us. We should be thinking about which signs make sense, which ones don't. And if we're talking about something temporary, that for if somebody's driving down the street, that they know to be expecting bicyclists at this particular spot because people might be crossing there, I think that's a small use of our time to make sure that folks are safer. But again, just my opinion.
We shall agree to disagree. We have deer running across the roads. We have people running across the roads. We have bicyclists on the roads. We have people on skateboards and rollerblades. And you just can't sign up for everybody to do everything. You have to have some common sense when you go out there. You're going to ride on the road, you better think about, gee, there might be cars out there.
Yeah, and I'm talking about for the cars to realize that, hey, usually people are riding on the side path over here, on the path. All of a sudden, I'm not expecting somebody to be darting out in front of me because typically we're not seeing the bicyclists, they're using the bridge over here. So if they're coming out into traffic, that is something that would be, at least in my mind, potentially a good use of a sign because it alerts people to the fact that at this particular location, for this particular time period, which is just a couple of weeks, to be a little bit more alert. But, I'm not trying to cause any controversy over here or doing something for the sake of argument. But I just want to bring it up that it is something to be thinking about.
We just had all of our roads striped, including the edges. Those folks that are going to ride bikes will be on the outside of that white line. I don't see it as big a problem as you do.
Okay.
No, I hope the bike on the right side of the road. Someone I know bike on the wrong side, I'm thinking. So make sure you bike on the right side.
There actually is a concern at that curve. On the west side, the southbound side of Meridian, there is a large pothole there. It extends across the fog line into the roadway and partially onto the shoulder, and it is an obstruction for bikes. It's something we should ask the county to address before we have the event this weekend. It would be just maybe a cold patch to fill this hole in, but it's becoming larger and larger.
Donna?
Yes.
Bring that tomorrow.
Pardon?
Talk to Lorinda and see if you can get that patched.
I will. And this may be a good time to bring this up as well. On Meridian, that would be on the west side of Meridian, right directly across from the bridge, there's some rather large tree limbs that are hanging out over the guardrails. And I took a picture of it with my camera and wanted to see, because it covers the area that up to the white line. So I didn't know this weekend what the route is for bikers. That certainly is a terrible area.
Well, we've got a contract.
They would have to come out into the road. So
We have a contract, and it's administered in your department.
okay,
Call Lorinda, ask her to have TNT go out there and take care of that.
okay. Well, Lorinda was on vacation this week, so
Right, I didn't know that.
I can cover it tomorrow with Dale.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And just so everyone knows, too, when you're riding in the road, as well, I mentioned about that white line, and I'm sure, Al, you can attest to this as well. The law states that bicyclists should ride, as far as right as practicable.
Sure.
So that means that, if given the context, if the road is perfect and there's enough space for you at that white line, be riding over there. But again, if there is a big pothole in the road, well, you have every right to be moving farther to the left, even taking the full lane if necessary to continue traveling.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks, everyone. Moving on to new business. Bob, you said that you wanted to talk a bit about a fundraiser and T-shirts.
Well, I'd like to see some type of fundraiser to raise money for the bike path, and it pertains to shirts and hats and, jackets. Some people have their organizations, but I'm looking to raise money to better our bike paths on the island. Something we can discuss, and see what we can get going if we all agree on it.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to talk about on the air, or would it be more about after a meeting, just a study session or something?
Well, they're very nice shirts, and the shirts that we have picked, they're all safety color friendly. They're the lime greens, they're the bright oranges and pinks, and they have a little logo on it. It says "Live, Love, Bike," and then it has the free bridge with a bike on it, and it says Grosse Hill, Michigan, with water underneath. And we're looking to also silk screen some on the back, and hopefully in the near future we'll get a little fundraiser and send it out, some pictures of it, and see what we can raise for money for funding our bike path, improving it even more.
Great, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And with the Channels magazine, Jane, is there anything that you wanted to add about that? Channels magazine?
Okay, I had an email from Annette. We wanted to do 24 hours or within a couple of days, so I revised what we submitted back in May for the channel. And that's one reason why I added 3 more days of lazy ride, because I did not want to have a blank. Back Halloween, walk to school, alternative, that's it. So that's why I added it. And I added the new trailhead of the St. Thomas Church, the trailhead. I made some changes and looking good. So next time I know the due date, we will plan ahead with plenty of time to talk about it. But I stay today.
Great, thank you. Okay, moving on. I have a section here about path surveys. I'll just start off and say that I took a look at my 2 sections, which was the Meridian path from the northern edge at Voight, down to Ferry, as well as include Horse Mill. And overall, I agreed with all of Aaron's suggestions about removing various signs and keeping them. But I did take it a few steps further, taking pictures of all the signs within the area, and I looked at it from a vehicle's perspective. So there's additional signs that I would like to potentially remove, especially some of the signs that say like motorized traffic prohibited. It's again, something that's pretty much intuitive, that we don't have those on all of our sidewalks. We don't have them on most of the areas with the paths, and I think it's something that we could convey with other messages, like striping with the crosswalks, or if we're doing ADA upgrades and we're having the detectable warnings along the paths. So there's other signs like that, and I'm going to make a little bit more of a comprehensive summary for you guys to review. So if you give me a little bit more time, I'll be able to take care of that. But other than that, I know that some other folks were taking the time this weekend to do their surveys. If they have any summaries that they'd like to provide us with, now would be the time. Yeah, Jane.
I just did it today. Done it fast. Okay, I will send you a full report later, but to give you a general idea, you notice the stop sign are 9-inch, 12-inch, and 7-inch. There are different sizes, there are different heights. It's not consistent, it's not uniform. Two, we have noticed not just the signs, but a lot of obstruction. Trees, there's a curve. I should just remove some of the trees or cut back a little bit. And we're talking about we need lines across the street. And we're talking about another white bar. I feel it's a little too far from the edge. But my husband says a good point. The car lock, maybe it's really for safety reasons. Maybe that's the law. I don't know. Maybe we should just move up just a little bit. Maybe instead of a whole bar. Okay, I see a line. Oh, stop. That means the bike this way has to stop too at the intersection. So maybe cut that in half. Maybe instead of have a stop sign, have a sign with the arrow on the path I'm biking down. Some signs are too high. I left my notes at home. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I agree that the consistency is the issue here. There's certain treatments that we're applying to certain intersections, but not at others. So there's all sorts of different signs that aren't applicable in certain situations.
We had a lot of, well, you're talking about a system that's over 25 years old now, and it's been growing by pieces. And every time a new piece got put in place, there was somebody new in the county that wanted to have a different thing there. So yeah, they are inconsistent, and I wouldn't argue that. If there is an issue with foliage in the way obstructing those signs where you can't see them, we have the mechanism to take care of the foliage. You know, all we got to do is call Lorinda or Dale. They'll get someone out there to take care of it. The folks in the Greenways Open Space take care of their paths that way. If they run into situations where clearing is needed, they make a phone call. And we have a maintenance fund, and we can use our maintenance fund for things such as that.
So I should go ahead and talk to Loretta then?
Just put it in a letter and send it to Lorinda.
Okay, Lorinda, I will talk to Donna.
I'd rather you send it to Lorinda. She's acting director of the department, and she oversees stuff like that.
Okay,
She's a good egg. She'll take care of you.
Now, Wally, would you suggest that anyone at home would be able to do the same thing as far as if they could see, an issue involving vegetation blocking a sign?
Absolutely. We need to take advantage of the 21,000 eyes on this island. Invite people to tell us what they'd like to see. And I agree with you about the inconsistency of the signs, but they were markers of the times that this stuff was put in. I can remember when the restrictions on bike path building here were so restrictive. And now when we're paying for it ourselves, they're not quite as restrictive, are they? You got the money, honey, I got the time, right? That's the way it works.
Yeah. And
so let's just take advantage and run our own show.
Yeah. And coming from a planning perspective, I fully understand how standards change over time, and you have different projects. So even projects that are going on at the exact same time, they have different firms reviewing them. There is the potential for that inconsistency. But I think since we're going through and doing these surveys, now is the time to call it out, and that way we can figure out a game plan for making it more consistent. Might not happen overnight, but at least we have a catalog of things that we need to get done.
I agree with that. I think that right now I would not be worried about making observations about current conditions of the asphalt or the bridges, because we know they're being fixed. In a matter of a month, your information will be largely inaccurate again, and to the better side. So we'll do another survey. Get ready for next year.
Donna, I think that you said that you were going to do a survey. Do you have an update for us?
Yeah, I was out in the two main areas, Meridian and Grow Road. Very busy area for signs. No motor vehicles, stop signs for the bike path, stop signs for the road. Just real busy there. And my question was, if a stop sign states on it for the road that it's a four-way stop, is there actually a need for the stop sign also on a bike path? So the two congested areas that I found that with a lot of signs for the bike path would be Grow and Meridian and Grow and East River.
Okay.
So if they're, and then I noticed some of the stop signs on the bike path have sides to them, and I'm not exactly sure.
Those were put in place for people not to mistake while driving a car.
Okay.
This is a sign for the bike path. It's a smaller sign,
Okay.
and it's a shield, so that it prevents you from reading it when you're driving. Mm-hmm. If you can read it, you're not supposed to be driving there.
Okay.
Or the sign was, might have bent over time or something as well. Because I can read some of those from the street still. And no, I'm not texting while driving. I'm veering.
There was going to be a question.
I would think that there's so many signs on the entirety of the bike path that we could have an independent study session just on those. There's that many signs. Mm-hmm. It's something we should probably talk about in one of our study sessions.
Sure. Why don't you let me preface that with a conversation with our engineer. We have a DOT specialist in Rains, and see what we could do to standardize and minimize, right? See what they know about what happens when a sign disappears.
Yeah.
Right?
I honestly believe, as far as the signs are concerned, there's a point of diminishing return.
Amen.
And sometimes less is better. Less is more. So we have to consider it
Agreed.
under those terms sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Any other discussions about path surveys?
I've got one down here I had between Ferry Road and Parkway.
Yes, Bob.
On Ferry Road, the northeast corner, there's a big grassy area. I'd like everyone to take into consideration of filling that in and cementing it over. Not removing the curb that's there, but cementing that in and making it a waiting platform for pedestrians, cyclists, runners, whatever, to cross over both ways. It would be a great waiting area for traffic to clear. Also, on Ferry, where there was a problem with one of our commissioners a month or so ago, the lines that go across the road, I would like to see stop blocks or pedestrian blocks put between these lines, not only at Ferry Road and across the road at Meridian and Ferry, but also at Laurie and Macomb. You know what I mean? Pedestrian blocks between the crosswalks, they're white.
Are you talking about crosswalk markings?
Yes, crosswalk markings.
Mm-hmm.
This gives a bigger picture to the motorist that this is a live area. Because if you look at our crosswalks, we've got two white lines. But if you make a bigger picture of it with, I guess you could call it pedestrian blocks in between the white lines.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
So the term that most people are using is high visibility crosswalk markings.
Exactly.
So instead of just the two white lines that are going across the road,
Yes.
you have vertical lines that go basically, they're meridians. They travel the same way as the road itself. And so there's different standards of basically these lines are usually wider than the horizontal lines.
Right.
One type of crossing is called like a piano keys. Another one is like continental. I guess for anyone listening at home and saying, what in the world is this guy talking about? Think of like the Beatles,
Abbey Road.
Abbey Road.
There you go.
You have all, those big white crosswalk markings. That's a high visibility crosswalk marking.
And
I can't agree with you more. I know that the county has been hesitant to put those in because, again, it's about maintenance. But again, I think if there's more surface there, granted, you might have more chance for it to degrade over time, but at least there's still more there for people to see.
Exactly.
And I think especially where you have crossings where you're not expecting people to be crossing mid-block, for example, north of Horse Mill Road, that's a good spot that it should be there for sure. Additionally, we have one on Macomb Street, so right across from the bike shop. So I think judiciously putting those in where it makes sense. I can't agree with you more.
Well, thank you. And at Macomb, we have them 2 stop signs for the bike path. Those would be, I should say, we should remove those. I have crossed over there on the white line, and someone making a left twice this summer yelling at me for running the stop sign when I have the white sign telling me I can go.
It's a conflict.
Yes, it is. And what it does, I feel that a lot of these stop signs create confusion. And also at Grosse Hill Parkway, the same thing with the cross lines there. Due to white. Other than that, it's a wonderful bike path. Everyone's done a great job on it. And I want to thank also the DPS for cutting down, the fragmites or whatever?
Mighties.
Oh my gosh, we couldn't see there for a while, and they've done a wonderful job, the DPS, of removing them, up and down Meridian and other places. And that's pretty much it on the signs. A lot of them we can remove because it's a high visibility area. You don't need these signs when you can see completely north or southbound on Meridian or east or west on the side roads that we cross when you have high visibility.
Yeah, so when we're talking about those crosswalks, we should probably get together with DPS since they have their maintenance funds for taking care of the roads and find out how often are they doing any striping. If so, is it possible to include in there? How much additional is it going to cost? Who's going to pay for it, type of thing. But
Wayne County told us we couldn't have our roads paved, so what did we have to do? We had to do it ourselves.
Well, Wayne County just striped all of your roads.
Yes, they did.
So-
But I've got to say they didn't stripe the crosswalks yet. So hopefully they will by the end of the week.
I'm not sure how and when that will happen.
Yes, I understand that.
I look at that and say, this is just a little blessing for the next couple of years. If we don't swim ourselves, we're going to sink. And all of this effort that we and especially these really dedicated bunch of guys on DPS are going to make presentations to anybody who will listen about how important it is for us to finally accept the fact that if we don't fix our own roads, they're just never going to get fixed. So I understand your sentiment, all right? We haven't done any striping on our own as a community yet, I guess is what I was saying.
We have to grab the bull by the horns.
That's the next thing.
I hear you. Thank you.
thanks, everyone. So now we'll move into discussion about a mower purchase. Wally, I know you sent us a email earlier this week from DPS asking for us to potentially purchase a backup mower for the mower, mowing the lawn near the paths. For those of you that weren't on the commission before, I believe last year or 2 years ago, we went in on a mower with DPS and
Went on with Downtown Development Authority.
okay, and DDA.
I think there was like a 85%, 15%, or 80-20 percentage like that. And I don't have a problem with doing it that way again, but I have a question about it. Why are we doing it now? I guess I don't have a problem with us having a backup mower, but in 6 weeks, you're not going to need any mower. If you want to conserve funds until you can see a clear path for maintenance millage for bike paths, should we be considering buying that backup mower now? Or should we be considering buying that backup mower 6 months or 9 months from now? That's the question I'd pose to you guys. I don't want to weigh in on it either way, but I see logic in delay. I also see logic that you might get a better price on it now. So you tell me. Talking about a roughly $8,000 purchase. Grand scheme of things, that isn't earth-shattering for us, but it's up to you. I think you probably have enough in the balance to do it if you want. I think you have enough justification to wait till spring if you want.
Well,
You decide.
what is the condition of the good mower now? Is it working
Fine.
really well?
It's fine. The
I would
backup,
wait.
mower is dead. It's been resurrected twice now. I think it threw a rod. So, last I heard. So we don't have a backup right now, but the mainline mowers are just a year old. And it's a Husqvarna. It's a good machine. I have heard nothing from DPS about it. Put gas in it, change oil, switch a plug, and sharpen it once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, my first question is, how often do we need the backup mower? Because, if it's something that you have the main mower, and then every 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever you have to do, that goes down for maintenance, and you have to do the backup. That's a totally different story than just having one in reserve.
My sentiments are pretty close aligned with that, I think. But, remember this. These guys in DPS are allies, and they're strong allies. They see need to have a backup mower, and I see their justification, and I accept that. I don't want to just say no.
Of course.
I want to say not now, maybe in the spring. And I talked to Lorinda about that the other day, and she asked, that was the first I saw it. 20 minutes later, this commission saw it.
Yeah.
So I'm not hiding or delaying a message to you, but I think we need to think about if we want. I don't think it's a matter of buying a backup. We should, but I think it's a matter of timing. It's up to you.
I couldn't agree with you more on that, and my sentiment comes from, again, with the amount of funds that we do have, and we've just spent majority of our maintenance fund on the paths and the bridges, and I don't remember the exact amount, but I think we had about $10,000 left in our account.
Did you ever get a response to your email request?
I did not.
I'll find out.
Okay.
And I'll share that balance with you. Now, recognize also that the bike path repairs, just like the last bid, is a unit price bid. So much per 100 feet of this, so much for square foot of that. And if the quantities vary, so will the prices. But we know what the prices are. And I don't think we're going to be far off of it. But if we spend what we spent, I think there's like 30,000. But I suspect that it'd be closer to 20,000 left. And if you take $8,000 out of it for a mower, then you got a razor thin bank balance until you can do something about replenishing it.
So we talk about doing the taking out signs or putting up different signs, or taking care of the vegetation along the roadway. I'm assuming that some of that's going to be coming from our maintenance fund, and so that's what we have to weigh up against the maintenance for the safety factors versus the purchase of this mower. Which again, I can't agree with you more that we definitely need to have one. It's just is it the right time for it, and how are we going to pay for it?
I don't think that DPS would be upset if we said wait till spring. I frankly don't.
And, maybe we just ask DPS, how much of a savings are we getting by acting now versus in the spring? If we're talking about 50% savings, that's...
No, there's no 50% savings. Just, let's not over-engineer it either. It's an $8,000 purchase, not an $800,000 purchase. Let's just decide whether you want to buy it now or you want to buy it later. You want to take a chance of running without a backup? Something happens, we'll go out and rent a mower.
So Wally and I have been dominating the conversation here. I see Jane trying to get in. Jane, what are your comments or questions?
I like the idea of waiting until spring, and I was thinking the same thing. We can rent one if we need to. So I would suggest, hey, let's wait till spring. There could be a spring sale, I don't know. And we only have a few more weeks before we're done, and we're going to be sitting in the garage for about 3-4 months. So I would suggest to postpone until spring.
Okay. Al, any comments?
I found out that we bought a new brush for our Bobcat, but the attachment that it's supposed to go on is broken, and it hasn't been fixed. And I'd rather see efforts, on that. There will be no snow plows on these bridges. If we're going to clean them, we're going to clean them with a Bobcat with a brush. No more push blades. That's what's hacked up there. So if we're going to do something, Let's get that fixed instead of buying a mower that's going to sit for 6 months, my opinion.
That's very good, because we're going to need that this winter.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. You know, a backup mower is a just-in-case item. I think that if we really prioritize what we need, that the Bobcat brush is a priority, and if it needs work and we need to direct funds towards it, that isn't a what-if item. That is a mandatory needed item.
We bought the brush, and as far as I can understand, it's awaiting installation into a broken piece of equipment. But I have to look into that further. I just heard that.
My mindset is simply we need to focus our money where it needs to go, not where maybe it should go.
Just to clarify further, we bought the brush, but the maintenance on the Bobcat is a DPS maintenance function.
Yeah.
It's not a bike path maintenance function.
We work
Good
hand in
guys,
hand,
because
though.
we bought the brush.
I think we're splitting hairs at that point. If it's something needs to be fixed for our service, then we're involved, whether we like it or not.
Well, what I said, Alan, was we got involved by buying the replacement brush, but can't use it yet.
I would like to focus on that. I didn't know that occurred, and I think that's very important.
I agree.
Donna, questions, comments, thoughts?
No, basically, I agree with what's been said so far, that we should wait on the backup mower.
Bob, anything else?
Heck, they might have an end-of-year sale or Christmas sale. Maybe we'll get a heck of a discount. Middle of winter, who's selling lawnmowers? Be a good time to buy one.
Yeah.
For spring.
So somebody needs to make a motion as to what we're going to do with this.
Okay,
I'm moving to postpone the spring or sale.
Not one or the other. Postpone?
Okay.
what were the alternatives? Postpone.
Take it. It's on the township's 24th board meeting as an action item. I need to remove it. In order to remove it,
Okay.
I need a motion from this board that says we don't want to buy it right now.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, I'm motion that we would not like to purchase right now.
Second? Who's the second?
Is that the full motion right there? Is that all you need?
Yes.
Okay. I will second.
Very good. And then you call for your vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 6-0.
Solved.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll move into reports and closing. Are there any other upcoming rides and runs to publicize? I saw one that's been advertised at both bridges. Was it Simpson Run or something like that, or did that already happen?
That happened on the 15th, and it's a run.
Last Saturday.
Last Saturday? Okay. Any others? Well, it's your last chance to.
Thank you. I've been dying for this. We've been talking about finishing up the bricks at the fountain. I went on a worldwide, multi-continental search and found 9 bricks that are a perfect match.
Thank you, sir.
At Carefree.
Carefree.
And in my magnanimous nature, I donated the $5.60 it cost to get it there. All right? So we're not making a big deal out of a little deal. But
$5, wow.
Yeah, that's, you guys want to split it up with me, that's fine. I'll let you know. I think it's
You could buy
83
two
cents
of
a
it,
piece.
but
Buy you a
But,
Coke.
Yeah, buy me a Coke. No, I'm not worried about it. I just, there was a whole lot of consternation about this. Where we're going to find it. I found them. I took them down and I matched them. They're beautiful. What our holdup is now, I authorized Aaron to replace 2 broken engraved bricks at no cost to the people that own them. She ordered the bricks. They're supposed to be paid for, and they're supposed to be shipped here. In the DPS office, there is 2 8x8s and 1 4x8 brick that Mr. Moore was never made aware of being there. We had too many chiefs dealing with this pad, and I kept saying, let Aaron do it, let Aaron do it. So I've told Aaron, you're in charge, right? You make sure that when we got all the bricks, We get these bricks that are engraved, we get these bricks that are replacing broken ones, and then we fill in the blanks with the 9 that I bought. And we're done. All we're waiting for is for them to come through the mail. Okay? And Erin will take care of it when they come. She knows. Nobody else has to worry about it anymore. Between her and Carl Moore, it should be finished. And they do look pretty darn good. What do you want to do with the back end of that planter behind it? Would you like to see some bushes planted in that, or some?
Yeah,
What do you think?
I like Bush's idea. Low maintenance.
Low maintenance bushes? Let's not make a $100 project out of a 10-cent deal. Would you like to see some bushes? A couple of, yeah, sure. A couple of boxwoods would look good. Thank you. It's problem solved. The other thing I would like to mention as part of my report is you should watch the next Township Board meeting for 2 presentations. Groseal Nature and Land Conservancy is going to do a presentation on heritage trees on the island, and we do have some trees that are several hundred years old, and that ought to be interesting. And then there's going to be a presentation by Pat Nielsen of Greenways Open Space on oak wilt. You're going to learn a lot about oak wilt between the forestry trailer this weekend and her presentation on the 24th. And this is a big deal. We've had Pat is just a little bulldog when it comes to getting people to do what she needs done. She's had the Forestry Service here walking Groseal with her, looking at our red oaks and our other oaks that are prone to oak wilt. We're going to start giving a real good message coming on the 24th as to why you shouldn't trim your oak trees and then move the wood. All right? You'll learn more about that if you watch on Monday. That's all I'd like to say.
About what's going on with the trail for the 2 different components. 2 paths, basically 1 trail, both starting in Ironwood up and very different paths and serve 2 very different purposes. One is hiking in nature. On both sections, there are sections where you will be able. So on the biking trail, there are sections where you'll be able to hike. The idea is that with each trail, like the focus is consistent by hiking the biking trail. And as I mentioned before, Groseal is on the hiking route. So we are an option. We are the only option besides the Mackinac. I tried to say, compare us to Mackinac Island and say that we were very similar in nature. You know, it's something folks want to come out here and actually see with all of our nature conservancies, our wildlife sanctuaries. So people are aware of that, and there's a lot of different resources available for it. I will forward on some of that information. Tell you about the event that she took away.
It was an eye-opener for both of us. Something that we can do on Groseal, like you were talking about, combining different organizations into one. That's how we got inspired from them. After you left, we had a group session, and I asked questions. I forgot what the questions were, like, how would you promote this in your hometown? What kind of problem do you have? So we had a group session, and I'm supposed to turn it into the group. But overall, it was a nice meeting. Mm-hmm. It's really interesting.
Yeah, for anybody that's interested, we have a link to the Iron Bell Trail on our website. So if you go to growzeal.com, go to the BPAC page, on the left side it says Iron Bell Trail. It will open up a map where you can zoom into any part of Michigan and learn a little bit more about it. You can actually click on the different links to know what components of the trail is. So some parts are part of the border trail in Washtenaw County. There's the North Country Trail, which heads up most of the western side of the state. The Growzeal option is a little bit limited in the information it includes right now. The map is a work in progress, and one of the things we were discussing was how to get information on that website about programming and events that are happening in the local communities. So they're looking to have, Twitter feeds, et cetera, saying that there's, fireworks happening in this park along the trail, during the 4th of July. Or, there's, a Heritage Fest, on another part of the trail. Well, when it comes to Growzeal, we want to talk about Walk the Path or about, the various events that are happening. And one of the things that Jane and I were talking about is, well, wouldn't it be great to have, one link from the Iron Bell website or from Pure Michigan or elsewhere where people are planning their walking and biking trips and be able to, come to Growzeal and learn about what's going on. And a lot of communities are adding in the kayaking aspect or the canoeing. And so we thought about that, and then it kind of grew a little bit when I brought in Wally and other township liaisons and commissioners, commission chairs, to ask what their opinion would be on some sort of unified web page on our website or as a standalone that's centered along a user experience. So again, I'm planning my trip. What can I do when I get to Growzeal? It's just in its infancy right now, but I'll have more information to share with you in the future on that. All right. With that, does anyone else have any urges to get anything else out before we close this meeting up? Hearing none, can I get a motion for adjournment?
I'm going to be taking care of the BPAC table this Saturday. I'm going to be passing out flyers and maps and everything else, and I'm also selling you out for tickets for the tour of the aisle. So I'm going to take care of that. Now, will the table be provided, Ronnie, or do I have to bring a table?
Bringing you a table and a chair.
Thank you.
And I wouldn't have expected anybody more suitable than you.
Mm-hmm.
This was Mrs.
Oh, my,
Bike
thank you.
Path.
She is our biggest cheerleader.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Can I get a motion?
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thanks, everyone. Conclude this meeting at 8:36.